Qatar. Just saying the name conjures up images of shimmering skyscrapers and maybe a soccer stadium or two, but rewind a few decades and you'd find a very different picture. Imagine a vast desert, scorching sun, and small fishing villages. Life wasn't easy, but the people were resilient, relying on fishing, pearling, and trade. Pearls were Qatar's claim to fame for centuries. Divers braved sharks and crushing depths for these gems. It was tough, but it kept the economy afloat. In 1783, the Al Khalifa family from Bahrain conquered Qatar. By 1868, Qatar had its first treaty with the British. Little did anyone know that beneath the sands lay riches that would change everything. Remember those riches we mentioned? Well, in 1939, Qatar struck it lucky, not with a genie in a lamp, but with something even better: oil. It wasn't a gusher that made everyone an instant millionaire, but it was a sign of the good times to come. And come they did. After World War II, the global thirst for oil skyrocketed, and Qatar was ready to quench it. Oil production ramped up, bringing in a wave of wealth that the region had never seen before. It was like winning the lottery, but on a national scale. Suddenly Qataris had the means to dream bigger, and dream they did. But wait, there's more. As if oil wasn't enough, Mother Nature threw in another gift: natural gas. In the 1970s, Qatar discovered it had the third largest natural gas reserves in the world. Talk about hitting the jackpot twice. This discovery catapulted Qatar into a whole new league, making it a global energy powerhouse. The impact of oil and gas on Qatar was nothing short of transformative. Think Cinderella's fairy godmother. But instead of a pumpkin carriage, it was a whole country being upgraded at warp speed. Schools, hospitals, roads, infrastructure, everything got a major makeover. Qatar was on the fast track to modernization, fueled by its newfound wealth. Remember those sleepy fishing villages from before? Well, they started to look more like scenes from a futuristic movie. Skyscrapers shot up from the desert, casting long shadows over the once empty landscape. Highways crisscrossed the country, connecting cities with gleaming new airports and ports. Qatar was changing faster than a chameleon in a rainbow. But it wasn't just about the fancy buildings. Education became a top priority, with new universities and schools popping up like mushrooms after the rain. Healthcare also got a massive boost, with state-of-the-art hospitals offering world-class treatment. Qatar was determined to invest in its people, and it showed. The shift from a traditional society to a modern one wasn't without its challenges. It was like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, but Qatar was determined to make it work. They carefully blended their rich cultural heritage with modern advancements, creating a unique identity that honored the past while embracing the future. This rapid modernization did come with its share of growing pains. Traffic jams became a national sport, and finding a parking spot was like winning a mini lottery. But hey, these were good problems to have, a sign of a country on the move. Qatar was no longer just surviving, it was thriving. Section 4. The tiny giant Qatar's growing global influence. Now, let's talk about Qatar's presence on the world stage. You see, with great wealth comes great responsibility, and Qatar took that to heart. They realized that being a small country didn't mean having a small voice. In fact, they were determined to make their voice heard loud and clear. One way they did this was through their media. Al Jazeera, the pan-Arab news channel, became Qatar's global mouthpiece. It provided a different perspective on world events, challenging established narratives and giving a voice to the voiceless. Love it or hate it, Al Jazeera made sure the world sat up and took notice of Qatar. But Qatar's global influence wasn't just about news. They understood the power of soft power, using diplomacy, culture, and sports to build bridges and foster relationships. They invested heavily in arts and culture, attracting world-renowned artists and performers to their glittering museums and theaters. And then there was sports. Qatar became a hub for international sporting events, hosting everything from tennis tournaments to cycling races. But the crown jewel of their sporting achievements was yet to come. Something big, something that would capture the world's imagination. Any guesses? Section 5. More than just sports. The legacy of the 2022 World Cup. That's right, the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Qatar hosting the world's biggest sporting event? It seemed like a long shot, but they pulled it off. The world watched in awe as Qatar transformed itself into a soccer wonderland, building state-of-the-art stadiums that were architectural marvels in their own right. But the World Cup was about more than just goals and glory. It was a chance for Qatar to showcase its culture and hospitality to the world, to break down stereotypes and build bridges of understanding. And they did just that, welcoming millions of fans from all corners of the globe. Of course, hosting an event of this magnitude wasn't without its controversies. There were concerns about human rights, the treatment of migrant workers, and the environmental impact. Qatar faced these challenges head-on, using the World Cup as a catalyst for social progress and environmental sustainability. The legacy of the 2022 World Cup extends far beyond the final whistle. It put Qatar firmly on the global map, not just as a wealthy nation but as a country with a vision, a country that's not afraid to dream big and make those dreams a reality. Section 6. Balancing Tradition and Progress, Qatar's Cultural Landscape. Qatar isn't all about skyscrapers and stadiums. Beneath the modern facade lies a rich cultural heritage, rooted in Islamic traditions and Bedouin heritage. It's a blend of old and new, where you can sip Arabic coffee in a futuristic cafe while listening to traditional music. Souk Waqif is the best place to experience this cultural fusion. Wander through alleyways, haggle for souvenirs, and soak up traditional Qatari life. It's like stepping back in time, but with air conditioning. Qatar is also a haven for art lovers. The Museum of Islamic Art houses a breathtaking collection spanning 1,400 years. The National Museum of Qatar resembles a giant desert rose telling the story of Qatar. Despite modernization, Qatar remains deeply connected to its Islamic faith. Mosques are scattered throughout the country, their minarets piercing the skyline. The call to prayer is a reminder that faith remains central to Qatari life. Section 7. Desert Dreams, Global Ambitions, Qatar's Future Vision. So what does the future hold for this tiny nation with giant ambitions? Qatar has a plan, a roadmap for the future known as Qatar National Vision 2030. It's a blueprint for sustainable development, aiming to create a knowledge-based economy, diversify beyond oil and gas, and become a global leader in various fields. One of the key pillars of this vision is human development. Qatar understands that its most valuable resource is its people, and they're investing heavily in education, healthcare, and social welfare to ensure a bright future for generations to come. Sustainability is another major focus. Qatar is acutely aware of the environmental challenges facing the world, and they're taking steps to minimize their ecological footprint. From investing in renewable energy to promoting green building practices, Qatar is committed to a greener future. As Qatar continues its journey from desert to global stage, it faces both opportunities and challenges. But one thing is for sure, this tiny nation has a big heart, a bold vision, and the determination to make its mark on the world. So buckle up and get ready for the next chapter in Qatar's incredible story, because it promises to be just as exciting as the last.